Hello, it's Daryl at 10 Foot Truck, Good Attitudes Services. I'm doing a video tonight in my office, and I just wanted to discuss some things about automation. And I've done videos like this before about truck automation, car automation, and robotics. And so I've been kind of paying attention to that because I'm interested, because things are kind of changing in that direction. A lot of companies are looking into that, doing the research development. You got companies like Boston Dynamics. You have uh, well, Tesla has, their cars have sort of automated type devices, and a lot of cars are going that way. So I just noticed this article a couple of days ago. I read in TechCrunch, which is discussing a company called Einride, which are Einride. I guess they're a Swedish company. And this is really interesting because I've seen a lot of articles about these self-driving trucks, and usually they kind of look just like a truck, and then they were going to have like a driver in the truck monitoring the truck as it's moving, but it wasn't. It was fully automated. Now this thing here is like a pod, and it's it just looks like a big box, like a box truck, but without it. It doesn't have like a windows, or it doesn't have. I mean, this might be just the R&D type or the prototype, but in the picture. But I don't. It just looks like it has sensors and stuff on it, and it's just a box. And according to this article, I'll read part of it just to give you an idea what it's talking about. It says Einride, the Swedish startup that wants to electrify the autonomous freight industry, will begin operating its purpose-built self-driving pods on the public roads in the U.S. this year, and part of an existing partnership with General Electric Appliances. Einride's, I don't know if that's the way they say it, but Einride's pods are built without a front cabin for a human safety operator, which the company says required approval from National Highway Traffic Safety Association (NHTSA) in order to operate on public roads. Other companies are retrofitting existing trucks, which are like the one I was talking about. They kind of look just like your regular trucks. So other companies are retrofitting existing trucks to become autonomous, but we are doing the opposite. Robert Falk, CEO and founder of Einride, told TechCrunch, "We are building a brand new way to do autonomous shipping from the ground up, with results in this new type of vehicle design and functionality." While there are a number of autonomous trucking companies running freight in the U.S. today, it's true that all of them are currently based on existing trucks, and almost none of them are electric. So I guess they're really focusing on the electric side of it, which is another whole story. All the push on electric vehicles has been coming up in the last, well, I don't know, a decade at least, I would think. I know I started reading articles years ago about autonomous cars. I think over 10 years ago I read articles about them. And when I would talk about it, most people were like, "Nah, there's never going to be a time in the future cars will never be able to drive themselves." Well, looks like they can, and not all completely successful. There have been cases of like Tesla's crashing and that, but they're well on their way. I mean, it's going to be, I think, and there will be a time where you will see fully autonomous cars. In fact, I've seen one up close drive down the street where I used to live, and it had these sensors on it, and there was a guy inside the car, but he wasn't operating. He was just like looking at the I think monitoring the car, but I didn't see him steering it or anything. I think it was running itself. And I hear like a friend of mine who lives in California said that in San Francisco that these autonomous cars are always driving around the city, so they're testing them all the time. So they're pretty obvious in places like that. Anyway, let's go back to the article here, and I don't know if I'm going to read the whole article. It's pretty extensive, but I just kind of wanted to, since this is a recent article, that they're and this is a new company that I've never heard of, and so it's interesting to me that they're actually doing this partnership. Where was I at? Okay, here we are. While there are a number of autonomous trucking companies running freight in the U.S. today, it's true that all of them are currently based on existing. I think I read that. Okay, none are electric. The next paragraph would be InRide says this milestone marks the first time a purpose-built autonomous electric truck has received permission to operate on public roads. However, it is reminiscent of autonomous vehicle companies Nuro's 2020 request for a temporary exemption from certain low-speed vehicle standard requirements. Nuro's vehicles, which deliver food, I think I've seen pictures of those. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. God, those are the little. I think those are those little like a food delivery pods. I've heard that those actually operate in certain cities, like for groceries and that. I'm not sure, but that's what it says there. They deliver food and groceries. Yep, that must be the one. Using public roads, and they are built without space for a driver. So they're just a pod, kind of, but a smaller one, or a passenger. The company therefore needed NHTSA approval to use a new type of vehicle that isn't built with certain human-centered features like mirrors or windshields. Presumably, InRide's approval is similar in nature, but the company would have to confirm with TechCrunch, would not confirm with TechCrunch. NHTSA was also unable to confirm this to TechCrunch, despite multiple attempts to reach out. So, yeah, those pods. Now, it doesn't show a picture of those pods they're talking about, but my uncle, who lives in California, was saying that was telling my mom that he saw these. I think maybe he was using it as a service. I don't know if he was getting the groceries delivered to his house, but he did see these pods that were delivering groceries from the grocery store, but they go really slow. I think they only go like 25 miles, just enough to go down your back streets or maybe sidewalks and that. But they can't go like a car. They can't go on the freeway. But they're just a little pod, enough to fit like bags of groceries or food. But there's no driver. There's no there's no mirrors, and like they're saying, there's no windshield. It's just a pod, and I guess it has probably somehow you got to scan it to open it up. So that's kind of in the sense what this company is the same, but they're bigger according to this what I'm seeing here in this picture. These are like a big box truck. It doesn't say how much, and I haven't read anything in here what the size of it, but I'll read a little bit more here, kind of give you the idea. See, I don't think I can read this whole article. It goes on and on and on. Just wanted to get an idea of what's going on. So we're back to, okay, they deliver groceries and food. InRide did say that the approval is conditional upon company adhering to a set location and timing. InRide's pod will be operating on mixed traffic mile-long stretch of road between a GEA factory and a warehouse in Selmer, Tennessee, beginning the third quarter of 2022. InRide has been piloting its pods with GEA since November 2021 at the company's fenced warehouse in Louisville, during which time InRide tested the mettle of its technology in a closed facility with predetermined routes and controlled environment. This new pilot will take us out onto public roads for the first time in the U.S., allowing short shipments on routes that utilize public roads as well as fenced areas, said Falk. Noting that the pod will operate between a fenced warehouse and public roads. What we're building with these various pilots is a clear business case of how our InRide pods can support commercialization for customers in a variety of environments. During the initial 2-week period, the pod will carry cargo and coordinated with teams at the warehouse for loading and unloading. So they're going to still need guys to load them on, like forklift drivers or if they're wooden, loading it by hand or whatever, pallet. So that's not going to take the jobs of the labor for up till now. That could change, but a remote pod operator, which InRide says is the key to helping the company's business model become scalable in the future, will monitor operations and assist or guide when needed during critical low-speed operations, according to the company. For example, the remote operator might assist the vehicle in backing up to the dock or waiting for workers to unload the pod. Enright says the vehicles can operate autonomously in most other situations. It's not clear how many runs the pod will make or will do each day, but per the limits of the approval with NHTSA, Enright's pod will only operate during daylight hours on weekends and it will avoid on weekdays, and it will avoid adverse weather, road conditions like heavy rain, snow, fog, hail, temperature below 0 degrees Fahrenheit. The pod has the ability, however, to operate in such conditions due to, I don't know what that says, LiDAR and cameras. The company said, I don't know what that means. I'm not a tech guy, so I guess that's sensors. I don't know what that means. Enright is growing its footprints in the U.S. Through its partnership with oat-based milk company Oatly. The two expanded their partnerships earlier this month to electrify Oatly's North American fleet and 5 Enright's connected electric Class 8 trucks. Okay, in February, Enright reportedly ordered 200 electric trucks from BYD to be used in the U.S. Enright's founder, Robert Flack, on his moral obligation to electrify autonomous trucking. And I think that's it, TechCrunch. So that's really interesting because it's, that's something that's we have to all keep an eye on. I saw another article because I like to show. Well, that's kind of how they're really showing how there's these. They're already going to operate on a small scale, like I was saying. The grocery delivery ones, they probably operate in certain small condition areas and neighborhoods, and it looks like they're just going to start out in these back streets, and it says they're fenced areas and some public roads and some fenced areas. And if you've been into big warehouse areas, you can kind of picture in your mind how it works. I mean, I've been in areas where there's huge warehouse areas where they can move things back and forth. And some of the areas they're not like on main roads. So I think it just kind of looks like it's going to be testing this out. But I mean, they're serious about it. I mean, putting that kind of money and time, they're really going to push for these autonomous trucks. I mean, they really are in the trucking industry now. I've heard other trucking companies that are helping do some research and development on those too. So there it is. And anyway, okay, I wanted to go on to another site here I saw today. I thought this would be interesting. I haven't even read this one. I looked at that other one last week, and I wanted to mention I just didn't have time for a video. But now that I'm on the video, I saw this other TechCrunch article on autonomous trucks. And this one is called Behind the Scenes of Waymo's Worst Automated Truck Crash. So here's the negative side of automated trucks for the time being. And this was written on July 1st, 2022. The most serious crash to date involving a self-driving truck might have resulted in only moderate injuries, but exposed how unprepared local government and law enforcement are to deal with the new technology. On May 5th, a Class 8 Waymo, I think that's how you say it, W-A-Y-M-O, so a Class 8 Waymo via truck operating in autonomous mode with a human safety operator behind the wheel was hauling a trailer northbound on Interstate 45 towards Dallas, Texas at 3:11 p.m., just outside of Enos. The modified Peterbilt, like he was saying, in that article, they're talking about how these modified autonomous vehicles, where the other one is not going to be modified, it's just going to be built without a driver, without those features as a regular truck. So anyhow, back to the article. At 3:11, just outside Enos, the modified Peterbilt was traveling in far right lane when a passing truck and trailer combo entered its lane. The driver of the Waymo via truck told police that the other semi-truck continued to maneuver into the lane, forcing Waymo's truck and trailer off the roadway. She was later taken to a hospital for injuries that Waymo described in its report to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration as moderate. The other truck drove off without stopping. While Waymo's autonomous semi-truck was not at fault in the hit and run, the incident highlights gaps in reporting mechanisms and raising questions about how ready the public and law enforcement are to cope with heavy, fast-moving vehicles that have no human driver. The stakes for the autonomous trucking industry, which is still in its infancy, couldn't be any higher. One crash, even if the company is not at fault, could tarnish the public's image of the technology. Waymo's trucking origins. Waymo started testing its driverless technology with semi-trucks in 2017, beginning in California and in Arizona. At the time, it was the middle of the epic legal battle with Uber over technology allegedly taken from Waymo by engineer Anthony Levandowski and subsequently purchased by Uber as part of a self-driving truck startup, Otto. You know, it's interesting. I mean, I was thinking about, because I not only do I do furniture delivery and junk removal and that with my truck, I also do DoorDash and Uber Eats and food delivery. And it's interesting how, from my experience when I first started doing that food delivery, you're operating off GPS and all the app on the phone, so to get you from place to place. And I've noticed lately how it's getting more and more precise. Like when I press the location, like say if it's an apartment, a lot of times it'd be very difficult to find the apartment because these big complexes and stuff, so you'd have to drive around. Now, within the app and within the GPS systems, they're actually, especially like in Uber, I noticed it like pinpoints the actual, like right to where the apartment, like if it's like say it's 5 buildings, let's say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever, and there's numbers. A lot of times you're like, they may not be in order like you want it to, so you're kind of going around the opposite side. But the Uber lately, the Uber app, it's been taking me right to the correct building, right where the apartment number is. And so it's almost like as this technology is being built, because more and more drivers are out there with their GPS and doing these apps, it's really getting to a pinpoint. Because if you're going to do a self-driving service, you're going to have it where it pinpoints the fly in here. Anyway, it's going to have to, you're going to have to pinpoint the exact, because if it's going to go to, say you're ordering like UPS or a package, you're going to want that truck to go right to that apartment, right next to it or close enough. You're not going to want it to be wasting time. So they have to really perfect that. I think by these applications have been a part of that, because everybody's, just millions of people driving, and it's taking that data. I mean, I don't know if this, I'm just guessing that they're taking all that data and it's just algorithms, and it's improving every day. And eventually, you're going to be able to pinpoint locations, for like post office, or like FedEx, post office. All their technologies are all kind of going to be using these same type of GPS systems. But see, that's so that they are. It is true that there's going to be these issues, like they're saying, where the public's going to be. It's not going to for a long time. I mean, and what about insurance companies? Like, are they going to want to? I mean, they're going to be able to insure these things without drivers, and there's a whole bunch of things that legally and each state and county or whoever operates the DOT has to go through these court battles and all that. I would assume that if there's a problem that it involves all these agencies and especially insurance and DOT, Department of Transportation, and all that. Do they want those on their road? I mean, how is the law enforcement going to deal with it? So that's a lot of questions. So it's probably not going to be right away when these things are going to come out. So I mean, it's going to be years, but they're already out there. With all this, every time I just seen a new article on it, these companies are out there and they're going to, because they know it's going to be less money if they can get the driver out of the vehicle. Or like I was saying before, they don't talk about the loading and unloading, not now, but I've heard that even that Elon Musk is working towards humanoid robots, which that would be the next step. We don't even need the guys to load the trucks, so we'll just have the robots load the trucks. It's crazy because how fast the future is coming. Anyway, I'm going to go read a little bit more of these articles. This article about the problem with the self-driving truck. Waymo self-driving trucks, which are part of a delivery and logistics division the company calls Waymo Via, so that's the company. They rely on similar technology to its robo-taxis, a suite of sensors, including cameras, radars, and LiDAR. So that's why I don't know what a LiDAR is. Anyone out there know what a LiDAR is? LIDARS. They have it says sensors, including cameras, radars, and LiDARs, and powerful onboard computers. All have qualified truck drivers known as autonomous specialists in the driver's seat. So see, they still have to. That's going to be probably the next phase of these, I think. That's why we're the other one that doesn't have the drivers. I think these other ones are going to come out first because, my opinion is that they're going to phase in this with a driver, basically monitoring, the vehicle in case something happens, they can react. That's probably the safest way to do it. You don't want to just put them out there on the road without anybody in it, in my opinion. So they're going to have an autonomous specialist. And see, that's going to be a job. I mean, if you're a truck driver right now, I know a lot of truck drivers are angry, and people who do logistics driving, they're like, wow, it's going to take our job. But, it's not, I don't know what if it's really going to happen, but if it does, I mean, you're going to have to, you might as well, I would just become an autonomous specialist if they pay good enough. If you're going to drive, if you're going to be in there, you don't have to, you just monitor it. That may be the new truck driving job. I don't know. I mean, a lot of vehicles are having they have all these sensors in them, and assist sensors for like monitoring. Already, it's just going to get more and more and more. Of course, it's very complicated, all the technology you put in there. I mean, if something goes haywire, that's a whole other story. So it's going to be much more expensive, I think, to repair these vehicles. It says in 2018, Waymo began hauling freight in Georgia, and it branded its delivery business Waymo Via in 2020. It then expanded into New Mexico and Texas, and linked deals with logistics companies like J.B. Hunt, UPS, and C.H. Robinson. Earlier this month, it committed to a long-term strategic partnership with Uber and announced a pilot delivery program with HomeGoods, eTrailer, Wayfair. The pilot is due to start in July on the same stretch of I-45 highway where the May crash has occurred. So that's going to be, I guess, this month. July 1st, so then sometime in July they're going to do another pilot. Inside the crash, using reports of local police and Department of Transportation and data supplied by Waymo to NHTSA, TechCrunch has attempted to reconstruct the worst self-driving truck crash on U.S. roads to date. According to Waymo, the Peterbilt 579 truck was not carrying freight for any customers or partners. It was conducting standard testing with weighted load. Behind the wheel was a 40-year-old autonomous specialist with a decade of truck driving experience. There was also a software operator on board, like many workers in Waymo vehicles. Both were actually employed. Both were actually employed by Transdev, a multinational transit and mobility company. That stuff gets really complicated. There's all these different companies. Although the ultimate aim of automated trucks is to eliminate. Okay, I'll go back to that. Although the ultimate aim of automated trucks is to eliminate or at least greatly reduce staffing costs, self-driving truck startups today operate with a safety driver and technician on board. That's probably what I saw when I saw that little self-driving car. There was two guys in it. Maybe it was a driver, and then monitored the steering wheel like if something went wrong, and then there was the engineer who was monitoring all the stuff on his laptop. So that's. So if you were going to go become an autonomous specialist, you would be driving with an engineer. It looks like here. Waymo reported that its truck was driving in autonomous mode at 62 miles an hour, slightly below the speed limit, when the other truck entered his lane and forced it off the road. And it shows a picture. Waymo told TechCrunch that the safety operator did not take control of the truck from the autonomous system. The technology was not a factor as this collision was caused by a human driver of another vehicle when they crossed the lane line and collided with the cab of the Waymo's vehicle and continued driving. Spokesperson Catherine Barna wrote in the email. NSPD photos obtained under the public records law show that Waymo truck and trailer by the side of the highway. They appear to have been prevented from sliding into a parallel suburban road by a crash barrier. An NS police officer noted the truck itself sustained only minor damage. One picture shows the damage in the truck's LiDAR laser. Oh, that's what it is. A LiDAR laser ranging sensor. Now it shows that. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's a whole... Wow, look at that. And it's just like shows a sensor on top of the truck. The driver, however, was taken to a nearby hospital with unspecified moderate injuries. The attending officer classified the incident as a hit and run. Waymo told TechCrunch that it understands the driver is doing well following their injury. The driver did not respond to a request from TechCrunch for a comment. Because the system was active during at least some of the 30 seconds preceding the collision, Waymo was required to report it to NHTSA to comply with the agency's standard general order on crash reporting for automated vehicles. Gaps in the system. There are no checkboxes on a Texas Department of Transportation crash report to record whether the vehicles involved are operating with full or partial automation, and that information was not recorded in the narrative section of the Waymo's crash report. NSPD Detective Paul Asby, who later investigated the incident, told TechCrunch that he did not know the truck was operating autonomously at the time of the collision. So that's interesting. It goes on and on here. I don't know if you want to hear the whole article, because it's very involved with the reporting. So it says, I'm just trying to pick something out of here. It's interesting. It's interesting they're going to do that again. I mean, they're going to go back out in July. That would be interesting to read about when they do. Let's see. Waymo is trying to close those gaps, says Barna. Waymo has built the Waymo driver to interact with first responders and has worked closely with public safety officials to ensure the safe introduction of our technology in every market we operate in. We've got a mountain of work to do integrating these things into society, said Steve Vasili, a sociologist at the University of Pennsylvania who studies trucking and acts as an advisor to Aurora's self-driving truck effort. We need to talk a lot more about what they mean for supply chains, for workers, and for the highway. There are a lot of people who are going to do stupid and aggressive stuff around them because they don't like self-driving vehicles. That's another thing. That's interesting to have a sociologist studying this, because I thought about that too. It's like, seems like drones, the same thing. They talk about delivery drones. That's another thing I read just recently about Amazon delivery drones and pizza delivery drones, and they're like going forward, and they're getting better at it, and they're ready to launch that. I've heard about UPS doing drones on their trucks, but there are people that just don't like it. I mean, they're not happy. They think they're taking our jobs and all that. I can understand that. So that could be something that they have to look at too, outside of all the other legal problems and all that. Let's see, I'll just read the end of the article here. One more paragraph, see what that says, and that'll be it. Automated truck companies have got the basic driving stuff down, says Vasili. It's what happens with the family on vacation and the tires off, and when there's construction that changes the shape of the road or debris on the highway. It's when you have confidence in those issues that's going to determine when they're on the road. But I would not be surprised to see trucks without drivers on lanes next year. Wow, next year. That's pretty crazy. Yeah, and like they're saying, they have, there's a lot of obstacles like snow, rain, chuck cold, bad, like construction, all that. But he's saying he's gonna see it just next year. So it's going fast, it's moving fast. So I guess we're gonna see it in our lifetime. I never thought. I mean, when I talked to people, like when I first saw this, articles about it, like God, I think over a decade ago. I think I started seeing stuff. I don't know, 2008, 2009. I was reading about autonomous vehicles, and I was telling people, check this out, and they're like, oh, that's never gonna happen. Well, now it's, what, 14, whatever, 13. I don't know how many years was that? 13 years or whatever. Now they're talking about putting them on the road. I mean, they're out there testing them, so I mean, it's going pretty fast. So I like to talk about this stuff because I'm involved with logistics. I have a truck. I deliver things. Um, I do that for money, and then I do also, like I said, food delivery. I mean, all that stuff. Uber Eats. I do that. Where it's like they're all working towards. I mean, it's all working towards this. This autonomous type of environment, like robotics. I mean, you read about it all the time. I like to keep up with it because see its progression and how fast it's going. I mean, I thought maybe it would be like, oh, 20 years from now, but when they're talking about seeing these things on the road next year, um, who knows? I mean, maybe it's only gonna be like 5 years, and they're gonna be. I mean, I don't think the whole industry. I don't think all of logistics and all of trucking and loading and unload. I mean, all the junk removal, moving, and all that stuff's gonna be taken over overnight because you got like when you're doing labor like junk removal or moving or where you're lifting heavy things in the trucks and like, that has to have, even if the truck was autonomous, those laborers have to go with the truck. And I'm sure there's going to be, those autonomous vehicles are going to be extremely expensive probably when they first come out. So you're probably only going to see like big giant corporations operating like Amazon. They got the money, they got the resources. They might be the first ones you'll see the autonomous delivery vehicles. But on a smaller scale, like stuff like I do, just a small independent guy doing work in the community, someone like me, I'm not going to be able to afford. I don't think an autonomous vehicle anytime soon. So, you just have to, kind of, if, who knows what's going to happen? There's no one really knows. Just it's something to look into because I like to see. We don't really know what's going to happen in the future, but they are projecting this. So I think it's good to pay attention to that. To see like so maybe like what are you going to do if that? What if like you're working at UPS or FedEx and all of a sudden they bring in these autonomous vehicles and over time that like you're going to be in the